Hello and welcome. My name is Mendy.
And I'm True.
Welcome to Shield's Rest. We are so happy you're here. We are a group of friends who are bound by our love for tabletop role playing games, and our job here is to explore possible options on how to play the character you've always wanted to play in any TTRPG that you wish. Today, we have both made a Sorcerer build in the new Daggerheart TTRPG by Darrington Press. We are going to be going level by level, explaining each of our builds and why we chose them. If you like this video, please give us a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, where we'll be creating more of these builds with various different games. Additionally, if you haven't seen yet, we have added 2 more series to the channel. First, our Mists of Toldeth campaign that is being GM'd by True here, and additionally, a series that breaks down the rules of Daggerheart, to include but not limited to spellcasting and duality dice, with many more on the way. With all that out of the way, True, would you mind explaining the ideas of your character and what you're doing at level 1?
Would love to. So with the Sorcerer, they get the Arcana and the Midnight deck, which the Midnight felt a little out of place as far as like the Sorcerer is concerned, but I decided to lean into it a little bit.
Of course you did.
Seeing it as a fun way to, build a character that I don't think would otherwise exist. So to start off with, let's just kind of cover the class features really quick so that way you know what you're getting with Sorcerer. So you have Arcane Sense, where you can sense people. You have Minor Illusion, where if you succeed on the roll of a spellcast roll of 10, you get to create some illusion from far away that basically succeeds on anybody. And then Channel Raw Power. So you kind of have these going into this class to start off with. So there's a lot of good creative ways here that you can utilize these. I didn't build this class with that in mind necessarily, but it is just kind of fun flavor to add into it, especially having Channel Raw Power. I think that's a fun one to kind of have when you need to use it. So, especially when you're at level.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I decided to go with a Ridgeborn Giant.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I'm leaning into the weirdness here. So Ridgeborn Giant. The Giant I thought was just wonderful. First off, Ridgeborn, we already know Ridgeborn gives us that extra armor slot.
Yep.
I plan on using this on a regular basis, because the way I see this character is this Ridgeborn Giant is going to be in the thick of it. The complete opposite that you would think of for a Sorcerer. I kind of took that Spell Singer idea and trying to crank it up a little bit here.
I love it.
With Giant, you get Endurance, which gave me an extra hit point slot here, and then Reach. So treat any weapon, feature, ability, or spell that has melee range as though it were very close range instead. It's gonna get brutal, and you'll see here in a little bit. So I decided to go with leather armor to get that 4 in my armor. I also went with arcane gauntlets.
Okay. I
So
see
I'm
what
gonna
you're
be,
doing.
yeah, it's gonna be a very melee, like combat focused
Yeah.
sorcerer, as far as like in the thick of it, which you wouldn't otherwise expect to see. So you'll see why here in a second. My instinct gets the +2, and my strength and knowledge get the +1 to start off with, and my minus I took in agility. So,
Okay.
just to put that out there. So level 1, this is where it's gonna get really fun real quick. So I decided to go with Elemental Origin,
Okay.
and I chose the element of Earth. So you have to choose one to start off with when you take this subclass. So Earth was the one that I decided to go with. That's going to come into play a little bit later, and you'll see why, especially with the Giant. It's going to be so much fun. But then I took Unleash Chaos, because again, I wanted to have some damaging spells to start off with, and then I wanted to take something that was protection oriented. So we've already kind of talked about Unleash Chaos, but Rune Ward is another one that I wanted to have just to keep that protection on, especially if I'm going to be up front. I want to make sure I have something to rely on as long as I have the Hope, which with this particular build, Hope is going to be overflowing. So you'll see that bit later, but that doesn't happen until like level 7, but still, the Hope is going to be off the chain for what you can generate. So yeah, those were my takes. I was like, this is gonna be a different sort of sorcerer. So
True, I absolutely love it, and I can't tell you. So this is how the audience will know that this, like, we don't plan this because I went a very similar route as you,
Hmm.
and I can't tell you how close I was to going giant as well. Exactly,
Really,
like especially for that flavor text where it says spells within melee range. Like if it would have been melee, or if it would have been just normal like martial fist, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have even thought about it, but I love that
no,
flavor text in the giant. It says spells also work with this, so I almost went giant, but I pivoted.
okay.
I went with the Seaborn Galapa.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Yeah.
now we all know why we picked Seaborn. It's going to be up on the screen here. It's one of the best ancestry, or one of the best communities in the game. Just with those tokens, it's just sustained damage. It's great.
Especially for a spellcaster. It's
Especially
so
for a
good.
spellcaster. It's a great community. I had to go back to it. I think our first two builds, I went Seaborn both times. I stayed away from it for a while, and now I'm back. But I went Galapa here, True. And
Okay.
main reason, Galapa just kind of fits the Seaborn nature, of course. But
Oh yeah.
also, I didn't want to have to worry about my armor. I didn't want to have to worry about like increasing it later on in levels. So I just want to pick up that spell of protection that you can add your proficiency to it, and that proficiency is going to keep climbing as you gain levels. Slow and steady is fine. I mean, it'll give you advantage like every now and then. It's fine, but
I want to see what happens when the full rules come out
yeah,
for that particular part of Galapa because it says you put an action tracker or an action token on the action tracker to gain advantage. Is it just going to be giving the GM's fear, or are they going to choose to go a different route?
yeah,
I'll be
right.
curious to see. But yeah, it's good. It's not great. Like you put a whole action token on there for the GM to
Yeah,
use just to get advantage. Not great. But when you need it in a pinch, especially when you want something to make sure that it hits,
yeah, you have it. You have it in your back pocket, which is not something you're going to utilize too much. But I mean, the saving grace of this ancestry is that proficiency added to your armor score. Which, as a sorcerer, you're
yeah.
going to be kind of squishy. You want to be able to survive some hits, and this is a way to do that. For my subclass, True, I also went Elemental Origin, and I also chose Earth. I
Oh
was
my god.
I was going to pivot off of it, but I was getting some inspiration from Avatar: The Last Airbender and Toph. Earth is a cool element, and you'll see there's a really powerful domain deck card at level 10, which I think you and I probably both picked up, and it just makes sense for this build.
Very possibly.
Yeah. And then for traits, yeah, 2 into instinct, 1 and 1 into presence and finesse for me. And then
Okay.
I drop strength. You don't need to be a strong sorcerer. It's fine.
Yeah.
Starting weapons, pretty simple. I picked up that dual staff, and then I picked up the short sword just to add a +2 to that in case I ever really need to use it. But I feel like I'm gonna be using spells most of this time.
Right.
Threw on the gambeson armor, and that is where we get to the fun stuff. So True, I also picked up Unleash Chaos. It's a great level 1 spell. You're going to need it. I want an actual spell cast roll, like I want a spell at level 1, and for what I can tell, this is the best one at level 1. But for my second one, I picked Wall Walk. I I'm trying to think as a level 1 character, there's no way in other TTRPGs that I have played where you can kind of just leave the battlefield and climb up walls, especially at this low a level. So I think this is very powerful. If you wanted to send your ranger or rogue up a wall, you could get them out of the fight where they can just focus on dealing damage. And you could even do it for yourself. You can go up there and you can start, go up there and start unleashing chaos. So what'd you do at level 2, True?
So for level 2, I did take the customary trait increase,
Of course.
as we do here. So that's 3 instinct, 2 strength. I also took an additional domain deck card here because I decided I really wanted Shadowbind.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that whoever I'm going against is gonna stay there. Well, you hope anyway. You hope that the roll goes off. But anywho, the attempt to stay right there so I can go to town on them with them being restrained. Especially if it's somebody that has a bit more mobility and is going to be able to get away from me. I'm going to do whatever I can to stop that. So that way I can use, or at least get into very close range now, Cinder Grasp. because that is one that it requires you to be within melee range. But now with me being a giant, it just has to be very close range. So now I can do this insane amount of damage with Cinder Grasp at very close and not have to be near the target to do this. And then I can close the distance if I want to and start pummeling with my fists. So that was kind of the idea behind that one.
Absolutely true.
What you end up taking.
I love your level 2 so much, I did the same thing. And this isn't where we're going to differentiate, but we will eventually, I promise. But we did the exact same thing. I increased my instinct and presence with that increased trait. I picked up Cinder Grasp. It's a very powerful spell, especially with my armor, with my proficiency being added to my armor. I'm more on the tankier side of Sorcerer, so I can actually get into the fight if I need to. And Cinder Grasp is just such a good domain deck card here at level 2.
Oh, great.
And I picked up that second one. I picked up Shadowbind, and I'm getting a lot of anime references, but I'm just thinking Shikamaru in Naruto. It's just a badass spell, especially for the flavor.
Oh yeah.
Had to pick it up. Love that level 2. Let's see if we change things up here at level 3, True, because I think we might.
I feel like we do here. So at level 3, I did increase my armor slots here, so I'm now sitting at a good solid 8 armor slots to work with here.
Yes.
I did also increase my evasion. I
Okay.
felt like that was going to be necessary with this build. I do eventually get my evasion up to just 12, better than nothing. And then I took Veil of Shadows.
Okay, I see where you're going now.
Yeah, you're starting to get the flavor here.
I'm starting to get it.
This probably doesn't take hold until maybe level 5, but I think level 3 is where you start to get the feel of it. So Veil of Shadows, I really wanted to be able to utilize my ability to get in there to very close and to melee range. And this is going to help me start to do a lot more damage because I'm now starting to connect here. I do start increasing my proficiency levels here slowly but surely in the later half of this build, but still, this basically sets up the foundation for what I'm trying to do here. So yeah, absolutely love Veil of Darkness just because, you gain advantage.
Yeah.
Any attacks through that, and if I can get that wall situated just right, that would be a scary thing to have a Veil of Shadow show up and then a large fist comes through to pummel you. Just saying. Or burn you to hell with the Cinder Grasp. So,
Absolutely.
tons of things. So, but that's my level 2.
That's your level 2. All right, level 3. I love it. Yeah, this is where we change. Not the same level here. So what I did here at level 3, I went ahead and grabbed an HP and stress slot, as I typically do at level 3. It's just there for the taking. I want it.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and picked up Counterspell. This is where I kind of start to stay in the back. Worst case scenario, I want to be able to Counterspell. And level 3, pretty early in regards to other like TTRPG and platforms. It's nice being able to pick this up, able to have in case you're going into a big fight with, a sorcerer or a mage or so that you're going against. So wanted to pick up Counterspell to help out my party, and while grabbing a little bit of HP and stress on the side. But that's my level 3, True. What'd you do at 4?
So for 4, let's see here. So for 4, I did pick up stress and HP.
Okay, yeah.
I always seem to do it just a level
You
after
do it one level after me every time.
And then I decided to go with Preservation Blast.
Yes, okay.
The idea is if I'm going to be getting in there and I get surrounded at any point in time, even if they get just within very close range, because again, this is within melee range for Preservation Blast, I can get all enemies within very close now, and utilize that reach ability there. So that's really the only reason why I took it, because then I can push everybody out of the way, and then hopefully I can pick and choose who I'm going to attack next after that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love it, True. At level 4 here, I went in and picked up an armor slot, and I increased my evasion, just to make me a little bit more tankier in case I do get into the thick of it. And True, this is a problem that I did have with the Sorcerer. At level 4, I'm looking for some form of ranged spell attack, kind of like a firebolt, something like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing here.
There's nothing, and I blame the Midnight deck here.
I also blame the Midnight deck, as there's no really damaging spells that are what I'm looking for here. So I also had to pick up Preservation Blast. So the way that it seems so far, like, this is a sorcerer that has a couple range attacks that can actually deal damage. But where they're actually going to deal most of that damage is in that melee range, which is not exactly what I want in a sorcerer. I think these domain deck cards, they need a little bit of tweaking up to launch to actually be able to play a sorcerer the way that, we're used to playing sorcerers. But, I mean...
to that end, because really and truly, I feel you on that one. I was starting to feel like maybe I shouldn't be able to... Because remember we were talking a while back about, like, maybe we ought to be able to choose that secondary domain deck, whatever we want it to be kind of thing. Maybe not quite to that level, but have approved secondary domain decks that you can take that are approved for that particular class. So, for instance, like Codex wouldn't make a ton of sense here because a sorcerer is supposed to be somebody who feels the magic, so maybe that doesn't work out here. But at least maybe like a Sage domain, like maybe this is a more like nature magic sort of build here instead of arcane for the druid. Maybe the druid can take something else like Splendor. I feel like there needs to be more here, more options. But again, they are just starting out, so I'm assuming we'll start to see more choices in the level 4s, throughout all the levels as we go. Eventually, it's just obviously not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does get better with the further levels. I mean, level 5 has some great spell options. It's just here at level 4, I was looking for a little bit more. But, I mean, I don't want to bash on Preservation Blast too much because it is a very great domain deck card. It's just not exactly what I was looking for, but that's what I had to pick up here. Hey, what are you going to do? But that's my level 4 true. What'd you do at level 5?
Level 5 is where it gets kind of interesting here. So I did take the trait increase as is customary for our builds here. So +4 to Instinct, +3 to Strength. I did increase my subclass specialization for Elemental Origin. Mainly because I love the fact that you can now call on the element, your chosen element, to protect you. Honestly, Earth made the most sense for this giant to be utilizing because of the upfront nature. Like, I'm not just wheeling and dealing fire spells. And I think that's one thing I noticed that I wanted to see more of was more elemental type spells within the arcane and the codex decks and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to see more of it, but
I 100% agree with you. And I do like the idea of the Earth being the one to kind of protect you in that sense. Because I'm trying to think if, someone's swinging a sword at you, how's water going to stop it? Earth does make the most sense, especially for a melee sorcerer, much like yourself.
See, and that's the other thing is, like, you have to kind of come up with a narrative reason as to why this works out. And especially for, like, water or even fire, like, to me, it's one of those, like, you might be able to narrate it in the way that's like, oh, I splashed water in their face and it throws them off or something like that. Like, oh, okay, sure. But outside of that, I don't think you have a whole lot else at your disposal, narratively speaking, for that one. But Earth, oh, please, like, I'll just have it wrap around my hand or something, or just do a quick wall to them. I don't know. Can have some fun with it. But with my actual domain card, I didn't really care about anything here at level 5.
Really?
Chain Lightning's awesome. Don't get me wrong. There's some good stuff here, but for my particular build, none of this started to make sense. So I went back to level 4 to grab Midnight Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to, because I'm going to be up front, I want to bring down, if I can, the individual's difficulty class. And if I can do that through my knowledge trait here, because I do have a knowledge +1 right now, which I do eventually increase said knowledge score, it just kind of made sense to go back and grab that real quick, so that way the individuals that I'm attacking at very close range in melee are going to be that much easier to hit. So, yeah.
Yeah, no. Absolutely solid level 5 there, True. For me, what I did, I also did the trait increase as we do. I got that Instinct and Presence added to 4 and 3 respectively.
Nice.
I also wanted to upgrade my subclass as well for much the same reasons you said. Not that I'm going to be personally using him as much as your character is, but I really want that mastery feature, and you gotta get them both. You can't just jump straight to mastery. So
I wish you could just jump straight to mastery, but I mean, you can't. The mastery one is just perfection.
Oh yeah, the mastery you have. If you are planning on playing an elemental origin sorcerer, you're gonna have to upgrade your subclass. There's no if ands or buts about it. That mastery feature is top tier. So I went ahead and did that, True. And for my domain deck card, I did pick up that awesome spell domain deck card you were talking about in Chain Lightning. And
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking of if you have like a cool GM here, you could try to flavor that into like Chain Earth, Chain Rocks, just for nothing game breaking about it. It won't change anything on the card, but just for flavor and what you're seeing, I mean, maybe you can chain like a stream of rocks going to each one. It doesn't make as much sense, but that's kind of the vision I had in my mind.
Yeah. Turn it into flamethrower all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could change it.
Yeah.
That's what Daggerheart's for.
That's exactly what it should be for.
Yeah, but that's my level 5 True. Let's go into level 6.
Yeah, level 6. So level 6 was kind of fun. I didn't care for the Dark Whispers or Mass Disguise or anything like that. So the domain deck card I ended up taking is to aid in my ability to get around the battlefield and to basically get the rest of the party through to different places. So to start off with, I did another trade increase again because I wanted my knowledge +2 and then I wanted a presence +1. Wanted to utilize that, and then I upped my proficiency by 1, so now I'm sitting at a 4 proficiency. Then I took Riftwalker.
Yep.
Riftwalker was a really fun spell to utilize. Now it's kind of like one at the previous area here where Phantom Retreat. It's similar to Phantom Retreat in the Midnight deck at level 5, but here at level 6, as long as you can make that spell cast roll and open up the rifts, and basically, if you can do it twice, mind you, that's the big thing. If you can do it twice, you can open up one rift on one side of the map, or before you guys enter, and then do it in another spot to try and get your party all the way through and go back to the other spot where you originally casted it at. So, absolutely love that. So, and it'll stay open. That's probably the fun part about that, is it'll stay open. So you also have to be cognizant of that too, because if somebody decides to walk through there, like an enemy, for instance, you got to make sure that you're ready. Johnny on the spot with closing that up. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, that's what I took at level 6. What about you?
Yeah, no, Riftwalker's great. I really thought about picking up Riftwalker. It's just a great utility spell to always have in your back pocket, because I've been in so many instances where you have to get from point A to point B in such a like really short amount of time. And Riftwalker handles that. I love it. But True, yeah, here in my level 6, I went ahead and picked up a additional stress slot, and then I increased my proficiency here, as we do.
Yeah.
And instead of going Riftwalker, I went Telekinesis. I like Telekinesis a lot. It just adds to that whole like Sorcerer vibe, like I was born with my powers. Being able to just to move stuff with your mind is metal. I love it.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, a D12 plus 4. It's not bad. It's not bad here at level 6. It's something to keep in your vault, especially, and I'm thinking of moving items to like knock over enemies as well. Like it's a good crowd control. You can knock over like a barrel of oil, have someone cast a firebolt, place ignites, right?
Yeah.
It's a fun one to have. Wanted to pick it up, but that's my level 6, True.
So then level 7 here. Level 7 is okay, but this is exactly where my stuff starts to take off in a big way.
Okay.
So I took evasion +1. So now I'm sitting at a nice solid 11 here for my evasion. I also increased my severe damage threshold.
Okay.
I figured I'm probably going to need that at least to mitigate down how often I'm taking 3 hit points, while I'm in melee range with all these guys. Because I'm just imagining like a mass battle situation sometimes when I'm getting into these like moments of these characters, and it just made the most sense. So anywho, Midnight Touch though was what I ended up going with.
Yeah.
Because really and truly, whenever the GM gains a fear, you gain a hope. Our cup overfloweth with hope. It's gonna be ridiculous. And the fact that you can re-roll your 1s and 2s on fear dice is so much better. Because really and truly, most of my deck is gonna maintain at least a good 3 midnight cards to 2.
Oh yeah.
To 2 honest to goodness arcane deck cards here. So, and this is going to just occupy one of those spaces so I can start swapping things in and out as I see fit. I will never be at a loss for hope, because the big thing about these cards here is a lot of it's hope, and a little bit of it is stress for me.
Yeah.
It's primarily hope that I need and use. So if I can find a way to just let that keep flowing to where I almost always have 6 hope running around, that's how you do it. So
Yeah, no, absolutely true. As you alluded to, I mean, that is the perfect that's perfect synergy for your character. Level 7 is where it really comes in, especially with that touch card, as they typically are the best cards in the deck. But for me, I went ahead and picked up my last stress slot, and I picked up another HP slot.
Okay, nice.
And I went with Arcana Touch because I obviously went more Arcana cards than you did, and I love Arcana Touch. Like when it's in your loadout, that's just a permanent +1 to spellcast rolls, which is so nice. I mean, you just have it.
Nice. And combine that with Seaborn. Oh
yeah,
my god.
Yeah, you're not gonna be missing very many spells, especially the ones that matter. If you really want a spell attack to hit, you can make it hit with this build.
Yeah.
And I also like the once per short rest, switch the values on your hope and fear dice. It's small. It's kind of underwhelming here at level 7, but it's a nice little flavor, nice little touch to have just in your back pocket if you need it.
Well, and especially for the moments that maybe you're going to fail, but you fail with fear, and you want to mitigate that from failing with fear to failing with hope.
Yeah.
You can do it that way. Or if you just wanted to make sure that you get a hope.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to do it.
In case you're gearing up like a big spell attack that uses 5 hope or so. I mean, that's a way to do it. But
absolutely.
I mean, that's my level 7, True. We're at level 8, so the last tier of character levels. What'd you do?
Yes. So, customary upon entering a new tier, we take another trait increase. So, my instinct is +5 and my strength is +4.
Okay.
I had to immediately take the mastery card here for my subclass.
Yep.
So now we get that where you don essentially the clothing of your elemental origin here, and once per long rest, transform into that elemental form, gaining +4 to your severe threshold, +1 to your character trait of your choice, +1 proficiency, +2 to the armor score, and +2 to evasion. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
it's gonna be going on a rampage. It's pretty broken right there. I absolutely love that. I mean, it's going to be an absolute rampage for me to basically go through and do this. Now, yes, you only get to choose 2 of these.
But still, you only need 2.
You only need 2 to go on a rampage.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I would end up probably taking either the trait increase for my strength, or I'd take the proficiency, and then I'd almost customarily constantly take the evasion.
Yeah.
So that way, I'm going to be nigh on untouchable here.
Yeah.
And to help with that, if that wasn't enough, I decided to go for Confusing Aura.
Okay.
Because I'm up front.
You're up front. It definitely makes sense.
I have to do it almost. So once per long rest on a success, you create a layer of illusion. And the thing is I can create several layers of illusion. So that way, and I just have to mark stress to do this. My build doesn't have a ton of stress involved here. So with me having the 8 stress that I'm gonna have here by the end of my level 10 here, that's a lot to work with, and especially for these cards. So whenever an adversary makes an attack against you, roll a number of d6 equal to the number of layers currently active. If any land on a +5, which again, a 5 or up, so a 5 or a 6 here, 1 layer of the aura is destroyed and you avoid the attack. And then if all are -4 or below, you take the damage and the effect ends.
Yeah.
So unfortunate to that, but I mean, I would probably pump in a good 3 to 4 stress to create those layers. So love that, and that's a 33% that you're probably going to get a 5 or a 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna happen more often than not. Than you like what is, because you see like 5 or 6, like, oh my god, that's never gonna hit. No, it's gonna land on it more often than you want.
Yep, and the thing is it's once per long rest, so what I can do is kind of like Mage Armor, which most people forget to don Mage Armor in D&D. It's going to be one of those moments where it's almost compulsory that once I wake up from the long rest, boom, there's Confusing Aura.
Yeah.
And then I can recover those stress points later on, because this thing's going to last pretty much the entire time until it's dispelled. So, I loved it. I thought it was so much fun, especially for my combat build here, so...
Yeah. No, love it for level 8, love it for your build, love it for the giant. At level 8 here, what I did, I went ahead and also took the trade increase. Got that instinct to +5 and that presence to +4, and that's about it. That's about it for me. I'm not increasing my traits anymore. I also had to pick up that mastery for all the points you alluded to. The Elemental Origin Mastery is one of the best masteries in the game. Don't let your friends tell you different. For a domain deck card here, True, I took Spell Charge. Yeah, I dip back into the Midnight Domain. I just love the flavor of this text. I love like how it works. I'm actually going to read this one out. I don't always read them out, but Spell Charge is just so good. We take magic damage, which as a sorcerer, you're probably going to be taking majority of magic damage. You know, mages focus on mages. You're going to be getting hit with spells. Place tokens on this card equal to the number of hit points you marked. When you make a successful attack roll against the target, you can spend any number of the tokens from this card to deal an additional 1d6 per token. That's a lot of damage. You know, you take 4, that just adds 46 to your total. And I mean, if you're later on levels, if you're taking like Falling Sky or Earthquake or something like that, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And with the Seaborn feature as well, True, I mean, you have a true Nova attack that you can do here at level 8.
You really can. This is almost similar to like Absorb Elements for a brief moment.
Yeah.
You know, that you can pump into your next attack. It's almost like that, but just way better.
Yeah, it's just better. I mean, it's just like, it's pure damage. It doesn't have to be like a certain element. You don't have to like wait around for it in case the enemy is resistant to said damage. This is, you know, this is just magic damage. It's just gonna come through. No, love this card, True. My favorite Midnight deck card, I do believe. But that's my level 8, True. What'd you do at level 9?
Level 9, I increased my evasion again, so that way I'm at that 12 like I talked about.
Yep.
I increased my proficiency, so now I'm sitting at a proficiency +6. So that's a lot of damage dice to be rolling and be, have at your disposal here. And then I took Night Terror.
I love it.
I thought it was just absolutely ridiculous for this giant sorcerer that's going to be in melee going to town on people and just be literally be the Night Terror here.
Yeah.
So yes, once per long rest, but if I want them to be horrified and considered vulnerable, like this is the way to do it. And I can't imagine there's going to be a ton of times where I'm going to be needing that, except in like choice moments, you know? So, and it's just going to be so much fun to basically steal all that fear from the GM. I love the idea. Love the idea, because I can pump all those D6s basically for all the fear that I steal. The D6s deal that much damage to the horrified target. Oh, gosh. It's just going to be insane.
Yeah, it's on par with the level 9 domain deck card. I mean, it's very, very powerful.
It is. It definitely is. And this is such a ridiculous build that probably shouldn't exist right now. But I love that. I love this idea of a literal giant being this scary of an individual. Yeah. So, anywho.
The enemies would just run away. You would get to this level, and then you would just have no more enemies. Like, did you hear about the fucking giant that's, like, down the road? They would absolutely not come near you.
And then the rift opens up, and you're like, ah, crap.
There they go. But no, true. I love it at level 9. Yeah, what I did, I went ahead and picked up an armor slot, and I also increased my proficiency. And it's beautiful being a Galapa here because my armor score is so high, increasing your proficiency to the max. I mean, you're a very, very tanky sorcerer, which you're gonna need because you want to stay on the field. You want to be able to hit
you're
that. Like,
going to get targeted.
Yeah, you're gonna get targeted. You want that supportive AOE damage for like your frontline fighters as well, which brings me to my domain deck card, and that's gonna be Earthquake. It just made too much sense here as a Earth Elemental Origin sorcerer. You got to pick up Earthquake.
Yeah.
And I mean, 3d10 plus 8 physical damage is so strong. You get hit with a few hit points of spell charge the turn before. That turns into 3d10 plus like 3d6. You add on your Seaborn tokens. This is your Nova attack. And that reaction roll is 18. I mean, that's
high.
That's high. That's really high.
That's going to be hard for the adversaries to honestly get up and over. So good luck to them on that one.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that it is so high because, I mean, it is an actual freaking earthquake. So,
yeah.
you know.
How are you going to react out of an Earthquake.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. But no,
Yeah.
super strong domain deck card. Honestly, this is one of the toughest levels that I had to do because all 4 of the cards are pretty good here at level 9. But Earthquake just made sense for me. I wanted that damage. I wanted to stay out of the fight like I haven't been doing for most of this character build, but Earthquake's a way to do that.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely.
All right, True. That's my level 9. That brings us to the last level. That's level 10.
Level 10.
What'd you do?
Man, level 10 got diabolical. I use that word for a reason here. So I increased my stress by +1 here.
Yeah.
So that gets me to my final level of having 8 stress slots to work with. This darn thing went crazy. So I decided to take an additional domain deck.
Okay.
So I wanted to take Spectre of the Dark. Mainly because I want to be able to just spend the stress, move like a ghost, be able to get anywhere I want to at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to talk about coming out of the shadows? Try coming out of the damn wall. That is going to be scary as hell, especially for a giant to do. First off, so had to do that, and then I took Eclipse.
Okay.
Just to add on insult to injury here when it comes to what I'm going to be able to do here. It's going to be nuts. So being able to basically, once per long rest, plunge the entire area up to far range into magical shadow, giving me plus, and my allies, mind you, +2 to their evasion is going to be wild. And then basically everything else that's listed here is just beautiful. But the one thing that I figure the GM has to then make is I have to force them to basically spend their fear to end this baby. But if I've got this with Night Terror and I've stolen a bunch of fear from the GM is going to be put into a hard-pressed area to try and decide, what do I do with this? Do I actually end it with the fear that I have? Or do I save it so that way my adversaries can actually do something? So, yeah.
True, you're literally the GM's worst nightmare. I would hate this character with a passion. I would purposely find a way to kill you and get you out of my party. I wouldn't actually do that.
I mean, good luck. You got to find the giant first. I mean, it's a giant, but you got to find him.
Man, that is diabolical. I will say, I do believe you have one-upped me here on this character creation build. That giant is absolutely absurd. And honestly, sounds like a lot of fun to play. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, too, I was like, how funny would it be to be a giant sorcerer? You went and told us how it would be. Like, you explained it. I love it. But
I love that you thought about it, too, though. Yeah. Honestly, absurd. No reason for a giant to be a sorcerer. Like, it's
no reason at all.
Makes no sense.
But the way that you pick and chose your domain deck cards, Drew, like, you made it really fit, and that just shows to the customization that you can really have in Daggerheart, if I'm being honest.
Exactly.
But
so what'd you take at level 10 to just be ungodly here?
my favorite spell in all of Daggerheart. But first, I went ahead and upped my HP and stress, just because level 10 seems a little underwhelming unless you can really find that domain deck card like you did to go back and pick up to find some synergy. But I didn't find one I loved, so I just added I just increased my HP and stress, but picked up my favorite spell in Daggerheart, and that is Falling Sky.
Yep.
Love Falling Sky. I just love everything about it. I love the imagery in my head. If you're going theater of mind, just I love it. And the fact that it's all enemies within far range is just absurd. There's no cap to it. The cap is how many enemies are there.
It's literally you rolling a spellcast roll and seeing if that gets over their freaking their difficulty class, and whoever that's over takes this damage.
It's insane. And I mean, this is where you just burn all those empty stress slots you have. I mean, if you've had a really chill day, some combat comes out and you have 5 stress slots available, I mean, burn 4 of them. Make it a 4d20 plus 2 damage to each target. That kills almost everything there. And pretty much. And like we said, with kind of the synergy for mine is those charged up spells that you have with Preservation Blast. I mean, spell charge. You have your Seaborn features. It's just a pure Nova Sorcerer, which in my mind, that's how sorcerers typically are. They're kind of like wild and sporadic, but every now and then, man, they can bring the pain.
Well, and especially if you've been building up tokens on your Seaborn, because now at level 10, you can have 10 tokens.
Right.
That's 10. If you decide to burn it all here, that's 10 plus whatever you roll on the spellcast roll, plus the +1 that you have from your Arcana touched.
Yeah.
There's not a thing that you're gonna miss.
No.
Everybody's getting hit by this.
Everyone's getting hit.
Even the big bad.
Yeah. And if you're not the big bad, you're dead. I mean, or you're getting hit with severe threshold. If I'm able to pull this out twice, like that's probably gonna be it for you.
I love it though. That's an awesome build. That is a deadly spellcaster.
Yeah, I love that. I love that Arcana, like that domain. It's very powerful. There's some fun spells. Like I was alluding to a little bit earlier, I feel like the Sorcerer did leave a little bit to be desired, especially at earlier levels. But it does bring it home there in the back half of character creation to make a really fun character that anyone watching this, it'd be a lot of fun to play. But True, I think your class build here was just an absolute masterclass of how to like kind of bend the rules and do things you're not supposed to and make an absolutely ungodly absurd character. It was so much fun to watch.
No sense.
Yeah. But powerful and fun.
Sense. Yeah, powerful and fun, but God, did it make no sense. But I think that's what I like about Daggerheart in general here, is it's not an overly serious roleplay system here.
Yeah.
It really allows you to do whatever. So it's not super strict. Now this, of course, is predicated on your GM and what, if there's any restrictions and all that stuff, much like what I had a little bit on for my players. But you can still do an incredible amount of things, especially for the cards that you take. I mean, any build is not out of the realm of possibility here.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Daggerheart. So I can't wait to see them expand this, especially with what ancestries there are. Hopefully they expand the communities a little bit more. And if they expand the options within these domain decks and which domain decks you get to take, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
But, I mean, after this video, if you liked it, go check out True's videos on the Daggerheart rules. Those are very helpful, and they shed a lot of light on kind of the differences between Daggerheart and D&D, because much like us, I mean, we come primarily from D&D, right?
Absolutely.
We've all watched Critical Role. We showed up watching. We wanted to see what Darrington Press and Matt Mercer and his team have put into this game. And True's doing a really good job doing the rules breakdowns, like what is a duality dice, how does spellcasting actually works. Please check those out. And also check out our Mists of Tolduf campaign, where it is, do I just say absolutely absurd? Like,
yeah, I'm loving that campaign right now, so I can't wait for our second session on Twitch, which I think will lead into our 4th episode. But absolutely crazy, and I absolutely love it. But look forward to all of that.
Look forward to all of it. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell True what you like. Tell us what you like. Please go check out Mists of Tolduf. It's the most fun I think I've ever had as a player, and we've only played one night so far. It's absolutely absurd. It's so much fun to watch. Go check it out. It's funny. It's entertaining. It's lighthearted. But with all that out of the way, thank you once again for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Later, y'all.